Hello, welcome to our roundtable dialogue on HR priorities post-pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted global economies and businesses, and HR has been at the heart of it. With organizations now on the cusp of recovery, the role of HR is becoming even more important. When it comes to envisioning the future impact and role of HR, one thing is for certain: the pandemic and its inherent effect on businesses has highlighted the need for adaptability and resilience in today's workforce. All consulting firms started publishing what they saw as future trends and priorities for HR when lockdowns happened and organizations had to resort to remote working. For instance, they saw HR re-establishing organization culture to adopt more flexible working arrangements, which are now shifting towards hybrid working. This poses threat to existing organization culture because there are efforts to preserve the core values, and the whole social dynamics of a dispersed workforce working virtually with less face-to-face interaction started posing more challenges than it was anticipated. There are a lot more focus on employee engagement and employee experiences through pulse and satisfaction surveys to get firsthand the recommendations and ideas from employees on how best to transition them to a new normal. HR was entrusted with keeping leadership informed of employee concerns. Finally, health and employee well-being, physical and mental health became the new priority for HR, amongst many other things. In today's roundtable, we invited a panel of seasoned HR professionals from within the WiP community who would throw some light on these issues. Welcome, ladies, to a roundtable dialogue on HR priorities post-pandemic. We have with us Irani Srivastava. Irani comes with over 21 years of extensive HR experience in leadership, strategy consulting, organizational design, change and transformation, and business partnering. She has worked in HR leadership positions across sectors and varied cultures. Welcome, Irani.
Thank you, Mandeep. So looking forward.
Thank you. We next have Pooja Bahuguna. Pooja is a talent management and acquisition specialist with more than 2 decades of work experience, primarily from a manufacturing background. She has a proven ability of managing internal and external stakeholders to achieve strategic and tactical performance results. She has expertise in leadership management, training, and developing high performance. Hi, Pooja.
Hi.
Then we have Manvinder Kaur. Manvinder, who's addressed as Manu by most people who know her. She's an HR practitioner with 17 plus years of experience, working for Indian multinational organizations, domains that span across HR, business partnering, talent acquisition, and talent management. Hi, Manu.
Hi, Mandeep. Hi, everyone.
And then we have a budding HR practitioner in Richa Parikh, who's working with a leading bank with an experience of 13 years. She has worked across the breadth of HR in roles like talent acquisition, performance management, HR tech, and HR business partnering. Hi, Richa.
Hi, everyone. So delighted to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I have told you the format. I will be asking 20 odd questions. Try and be precise unless the question itself warrants a longer answer. So, or you're asked to give an example. Let me remind you, you are expected to speak as an HR professional and not just for your organization. All right?
Yes.
So here, as part of a warming up question, I am curious to know why I chose the HR profession. The choices are, hear them. A, accidentally. B, was my calling. C, any other. Irani.
I'll go with any other, but it was an inspiration that I drew from someone very close to me, and I followed her footsteps.
That's nice. Okay, Pooja?
It was my calling from psychology background, so translated into HR.
Lovely. Manu?
It was my calling. I did my engineering in production, and we had a couple of courses on industrial relations that got me, going for an MBA in HR.
Okay, Richa?
For me, it was accidental that I realized it's my calling.
Good answer. Good. Well done. Okay, so the next question is, during COVID, which two HR challenges kept the HR folks very busy? Irani?
I think the first thing was managing the work-life balance of our employees. And two is enabling them with the basics while they started working from home. I think these were the two key challenges.
Pooja?
So work from home scenario was one thing, and how people adjusted to it was one thing. And also employee engagement was something which was very important in that scenario.
Manu?
Keeping people engaged, employee engagement, and second is getting people used to this way of work, the virtual way of working, and keeping the productivities up.
Okay. Richa?
I think it was employee engagement, and along with that, mentoring all the new people who join in, because they don't get brick and mortar sort of a feeling. They don't get to look at people. They don't feel that they've joined a new organization. So how we kind of induct them was a very important thing that kept us busy.
I think people have been wondering about the onboarding of new employees.
Yes.
So what, according to you, is the current preoccupation of the HR people? Richa, we'll start with you.
So a variety of things actually, and that's the beauty of it, that there are so many things that we are doing. We are working on things around talent management, leadership management, mentoring our new joinees, hiring a lot of people, managing employee retention, and coming up with various ways to do the best at it. So all of this put together.
Manu?
So again, bringing people back to work, to the hybrid way of working, customizing our processes and people to get used to this new way of working, because this is something which is uncharted, but there's no industry precedence on this one. So these have been a couple of challenges that we've been facing, and this is keeping us busy.
And you've been also busy with some merger, right? Recently?
We recently had a merger.
Okay.
So yes.
Pooja?
Encouraging passion, because talented individuals want to work for organizations and environment that suits their values, attitude, expectations. And also employee engagement is something like a challenge here, and embracing interest.
Irani?
I think one of the challenges that we're coping with now of many things is getting people back to work and getting them to start to adjust to the hybrid ways of working. One of the challenges I see is in outcome orientation, when there's a meeting where half the people are on Zoom and half the people are, sitting in an office and doing spontaneous conversation. Beyond that, I echo something that Manvinder said, that how do we get people to grain into the culture of the organization, and how do we keep the cultural thread on, even with so many kind of work styles and ethos that we're bringing in. So I think those things keeping us busy.
Very good. Okay, so my next question is about the great resignation trend. But for our members, let me say that there have been headlines and statistics where people are saying that employees are considering leaving their jobs at eye-opening new rates globally. And now the trend seems to be coming to India. And so the reality of the situation is going to be, there are going to be major implications for organizations. So I'm going to ask these HR ladies here, the great resignation trend in India seems to be dash. I want you to complete the sentence. Irani?
A new normal.
Okay. Pooja?
Definitely there.
Okay. Manu?
It is catching up by the day.
Richa?
Testimony to 2 points. One is the confidence of people to do something on their own. And second is their thought process ki zindagi badi choti hai, dreams bahut badi hai, to abhi hi inhe pura kar le.
Very well put. Good. Okay, so my next question is on employee engagement or performance management. What is your preference? I know all HR people, there is something which is there. So Irani, I'm going to start with you. Employee engagement or performance management, which is your preference and why?
I will go with performance management, because I feel that, organizations and individuals need to have an achievement orientation within themselves. And that is best, encouraged and maneuvered through a very robust performance management system. And here I'm not talking the traditional way of performance management. Here I'm talking about continuous learning, continuous engagement with your supervisor and your teams, and trying to achieve the milestones, measuring potential, actually building careers and building development so that people, it's a very holistic view of performance management that I think makes organizations thrive.
Fantastic. Okay, Pooja?
Employee engagement. For me, employee engagement comes first because as HR, people are our first priority, and engage in high performing team is also employee engagement, and that will contribute to the organization's top line and bottom line. So definitely employee engagement.
Manvinder?
So though performance management is close to heart, but I would go for employee engagement because my personal belief is that engaged employees would perform better. And hence it's easier to do performance management with a set of people who are highly engaged and motivated.
All right. Richa?
So I kind of echo what Manu just said. I go with employee engagement because I think engagement is it's not about just having some, team meetings and getting people together. It's about having a mind share and a heart share of each employee so that they feel close, they feel connected, and that's how one performs. If I feel strongly about something, I'll perform.
Good. Okay, just off the cuff questions, and this is just coming to my mind that during the remote working, when it just started and the lockdown just happened, in your opinion, and this is a yes or no question, did employees experience a learning curve before reaching the same level of efficiency as before the pandemic? Yes, no?
Yes.
And is there a concern regarding how performance will be evaluated in the future? Because immediately people just went ahead with increments and evaluations were just let go and things like that. People are moving towards a transition into outcome-based performance management system. You're changing the whole thing and not based solely on their, just the time spent, but also looking at outcomes. So is there a reality? Is it setting into people that how is it going to happen?
I'll go first if that's okay. I really think, Mandeep, times are changing and how people are performing and the metrics of performance measurements are changing. It's no more about 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or 6 and 12 months kind of performance. It's about what's your daily learning, what's your input, and what's the outcome that you've achieved. But even if you put the most robust continuous performance evaluation system, one of the challenges that I was experiencing when talking to some managers is they're grappling with trusting their people who are working from home. So one of the things that we will have to culturally build for in organizations is to start trusting your teams more, that even if they're working remotely, if the outcome is there, they are actually performing to what's expected of them. I think that mindset change in managers will take some time because half the people are in front of their eyes and half the people are working remotely. So how do we manage performance evaluations in this hybrid work? Of course, will be pertinent, but yes, the whole ethos of performance management is changing.
So anyone else who wants to answer that? Is there a concern regarding
yes
will be evaluated? Yes, please, Richa.
Yes. Not about performance being evaluated. I have a very different view of the whole thing. What I feel is the future of work in a mature organization would be teams without a supervisor. The onus is on me. And I think the work from home scenario made people realize that the onus is on me. If I want to get something out of my work life, then I need to perform. And that's what really changed. And the supervisors now have taken up the role of real mentors, of coaching their team. And the ones who have been able to really do that have emerged as performers. So that's how I see it.
So my next question is, what are the key actions do you think organizations can take to re-engage employees in the coming year? Manu?
So one is, of course, one biggest parameter, and we've, a lot of studies have gone behind it, is what Irani just pointed out when he was talking about performance management, is building trust. Specifically now in the change scenario where a lot of organizations are going into hybrid way of working, there is this persistent feeling amongst employees that whoever is closer or physically closer to the manager is the one who will be, deemed to be performing more. So a lot of emphasis is now also being laid on, looking at the input matrices, not only what is the outcome, but what are the input matrices, and building trust. One is, of course, through publishing these MISs so that, people know it's not, my word against his word. It's basically data-based assessments that are happening. One is that. Second is building a culture of participation. So Irani, in her conversation, early on today, pointed out about building this. So it's difficult to have a conversation within a team when people are based out of different locations, and specifically if some of them are in office and others are working from their other locations. So how to engage everyone at the same level so that they feel the same amount of participation, they feel the same amount of say. That is one thing which will be key to building the new workplace.
Exactly. Pooja?
So according to me, how organizations cope with it is we need to have regular communication and listening for the employees. Diversity, inclusion, reviewing existing set of procedures and policies and practices. We need to refocus on employee experience, and also automation and digitalization, I think, will also make the organization, they'll cope up with it.
Richa?
Okay, so what I feel about this is the spontaneity of people, that is somewhere compromised when we work from home, because most of our conversations, meetings, reviews are pre-planned, and I am very set about what I'm going to talk about. Earlier, the CEO might just take a walk across the organization and would get the pulse very quickly, but now it's all, people may orchestrate it. Therefore, setting the correct culture, setting the correct values, communicating more, and creating a setup where people are honest to say what they feel is very important. And that's where I think we should be able to put our energies.
Yeah. Irani?
I think employee experience is pivotal, Mandeep, in these changing times. We have different cohorts of employees or personas that are going through different experiences, different challenges. If Pooja just spoke about diversity and inclusion. The challenges that a young mother is going through wanting to return back to work when schools and daycare hasn't opened is very different from a man who's in his mid-career. And therefore, looking at experiences and how are we enabling a frictionless journey for our employees in these career stages and the responsibilities that they have is one of the key challenges. The second one, I think, very pertinent is communication, and communication to the last mile. Richa made a pertinent point about CEO cascading down information, and what we've seen is leadership communication penetrates only so much. So how do we actually garner the message across the organization? So communication and employee experience will be extremely critical to, again, bind the organization together.
That's true. In your opinion, the focus of organizations is more on talent acquisition, development, or talent retention? Pick one and why. Pooja, let's start with you.
Development, definitely, because only if we develop our own people, then the retention will be there and then the acquisition can go down.
Okay. Irani?
While it should be development, I think most organizations put a lot of energy in talent acquisition. Yeah. And that's primarily because, currently because of the Great Resignation. Yes. But also because, but hiring right actually can enable the organization to perform much better. You always say you hire for attitude and train for skills. And I'm a believer of that. But organizations can do more in skilling. But I think bread and butter of hiring takes most of the time, especially of HR.
Yes. Richa?
Yes. So, like Irani just mentioned, hiring is seen as bread and butter of an organization. And we are so naturally pulled towards something that gives us immediate and tangible results that, our natural tendency is towards putting more effort in that. And I think it's only the more mature organizations that put equal or kind of effort even on talent development and retention.
Manu?
So I agree with Irani and Richa on, most of our energies as HR professionals are towards talent acquisition and retention in the second priority level, wherein it should be technically speaking talent development first.
What do you think are the key challenges for most organizations who have formalized DEI initiative? Share any two, Irani.
I think first one is to make DEI a strategic imperative for the organization and not just keep it as a lip service or something good to do. It has to be ingrained into the strategy and the focus long-term vision of the organization. Two is trying to get the organization's unconscious bias index up and get people to actually be aware of their unconscious biases and work towards mitigating them. If we work towards just awareness of this, saying as individuals, how can you become allies to this journey? I think half the battle is won. The consciousness around their unconscious biases is something that organizations really need to fight on. So I would talk about these two things to be key to the success of D&I in an organization.
Pooja?
For me, first, of course, is sensitization for managers. As what Irani was saying, inclusivity would be sensitization of the managers so that they understand and experience the abilities and contributions of diverse people. And again, along with the managers, the employee sensitization so that the inclusivity can happen. Appreciate how they can manifest empathy, trust, openness, and fairness in workplace. So these two I feel are very important.
Manu?
So I personally feel that in the DI space in our cultural context, it is a huge gap between what the leadership team thinks and how people perceive it on the ground. So that gap, instead of becoming a top-down initiative in an organization or a focus area in an organization, the need has to be felt amongst the junior most level in the organization, so that it's a bottoms up kind of a thing. Then only will be successful to build an inclusive and diverse workforce.
Okay, Richa?
Okay, so the way I see it is, I think it's a lot about what Manu just said, how the whole thing gets translated right up to the last mile. Because if that is not done well, then it makes things worse. It makes people have certain prejudices. If we don't communicate it too well, that diversity is needed. However, while we say that diversity is needed, fairness is above all. People shouldn't feel that just because you are a part of a minority, you're going to get a free seat at the top. That's not the perception that we want to build and create. Rather, we want to bring in equity across all levels right from the start. So that is the most important thing.
Okay. This is my question to all of you, that is women yourselves. Do you think something more can be done? And do you have an example in hand? Irani?
Definitely, yes, Mandeep. There is so much that we need to do from an inclusion perspective. While we hire or we manage to hire, women into the organization, we have to be conscious of two things. One is creating safe spaces for women, so that they can, without any inhibition, come and communicate and express their feelings. Two is being aware that as we get women, more and more women into the workforce, how do we manage the leaking bucket? The broken rung, as we call it, at the second layer. The first promotion or the second promotion that's required is so tough for women to have. So I think if these are the two challenges that are glaring on the face, there are many more, but because you asked for two, these two stand out in my perspective.
Pooja?
So for me, definitely a lot needs to be done, because the entire mindset shift and change needs to happen for the managers. They need to recognize our abilities, contributions, differences. They should not make us feel like imposters. That imposter syndrome should not be there. She's there because she's lucky. So I personally feel the inclusion of openness, trust, being valued, fairness, all that becomes very, very important.
Manu?
So apart from what Irani and Pooja have already mentioned, there's another dimension to it that, in terms of building, so as women workforce, another thing which is important is that as women, we also have to learn how to professionally put our point forward, rather than, saying things like, I have a family back home. I have to take care of them. I have a young kid at home. I have to take care of him or her. The point has to come across the table a little more professionally, saying that I'll deliver on this. But right now there's something else which is priority, and I'll give you a timeline in which I can, come and commit to deliver this.
Yes. Richa?
I think the seniors in an organization need to create a career intentionality amongst women. Sure. A lot of women end up, dropping out after a certain level because that career intentionality is not really built into them. And that needs to be worked on. Really, we need to be able to inspire them to do a lot more. another dimension to the whole point of diversity that I feel strongly about, and I have not seen too many organizations really think about it, is about age. That are we really open to take people who are more senior into junior roles? We mentally kind of compartmentalize various bands or various roles at a certain age. So how open are we? So I think diversity is a whole big spectrum of a lot of points and not just gender.
And specifically with a lot more women wanting to come back into the careers, you're very right, Richa. I think
Yes.
organizations need to be open. If they don't have a problem of starting at any level, that could be a thing. One of my points also is about the grievance capturing mechanism. Is it food or not? Because a lot of organizations do not have a well-structured grievance procedures, and when women speak up, the issues that they face without having to fear the risk of losing their positions or name. And I think some of these things get in looking at the big picture, the spirit of these whole things doesn't get handled. So anyway, just I wanted to put this on because as women, we do understand what things are happening well in organizations and which can be a little bit more robust.
And that's, Mandeep, what I meant by creating safe spaces in an organization like ours, which is very distributed. It's very important that women don't feel antagonized because they've come and spoken. And therefore, that I think becomes primary for women to feel that this workplace is somewhere where I can thrive. Yes. So exactly to your point.
Completely. That's why in WiP, we have tried to create the sisterhood where we have it a safe and non-judgmental place.
Yeah, psychological safety is the word. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so the next few questions, just a rapid fire kind of a thing, not long answers. What percentage of HR is truly digital? Richa?
75%.
Around 50-55%.
Pooja?
40.
Irani?
About 60%.
Okay, all right. So how has decision-making in HR changed post the pandemic? Irani, do you want to go first?
I think data-driven decisions have become extremely important in today's time. We have to, and HR has to really come up, and you just asked the question on the digital quotient of HR. I think while we are at 60%, there's a need for proactive decision-making that HR needs to do. So that will become extremely important for HR post-pandemic. The second thing that will become extremely important for HR to not just be, the heart of the organization, but also be the mind of the organization. Most times, people priorities are just left to HR. But how does HR garner business support and solve it hand in hand with business, and not just let people issues, which are so primary today, post-pandemic, to be only an HR responsibility? So how do you create sponsors in the organization who are as invested in the people priorities as HR is, will be extremely important. So make the organization a human resource function, away from the human resource function that you alone feel you are, I think will be extremely important.
Pooja?
So for me, HR should speak business language, and we should contribute to the top line and bottom line. I personally feel if we start talking their language, then they will post-pandemic and data-driven, as I always say, data-driven decisions are going to be more honored. So we need to partner with the businesses.
Manu?
So one thing which is changing in terms of decision making in the HR domain post-pandemic or during the pandemic is that the decisions have become more data-driven and scientific, and that is going to be the way in the coming times.
Yes, Richa?
So what I feel is we've started being very, very clear about what success looks like when we start a new initiative. A lot more than we were earlier, because the decisions are now data-driven. And even to measure success of whatever that we are doing, we are looking at data. So that is what has changed.
I think the decision-making sciences itself have evolved too much that they're helping HR. Anyway, I wanted to come to another very quick question, which is yes or no. HR is a thankless job. Yes or no? Richa?
Yes.
No.
Pooja?
Yes.
Irani?
Yes.
All right. So some candid answers. Thank you so much. A quick question. Give me one area that you think HR professionals need mentoring in. Richa?
Public speaking.
Manu,
Partnering with the business more.
Pooja?
I think empathy, we need to empathize with and also understand other person's problems much more.
Irani?
Predictive analytics.
All right. Okay, so this one is a little tricky one. I know we do this, but I have to ask you, what are the frustrating experiences for you as an HR professional? Manu, I'm going to start with you.
So I think one of the most frustrating experiences when you have people who are just plain naysayers. They would not even give you a hearing before writing off anything that you were talking to them about. So that is one of the most frustrating thing for me as an HR professional.
Pooja?
So my mindset change is something which really frustrates me. And mindset change, I mean, the male mindset, especially when a female talks in a meeting, if they do this, that frustrates me.
Irani?
People priorities being just HR priorities is what frustrates me. You know, if there is attrition in the organization, people look at HR and not the supervisor to say why attrition happened. And that by no end irritates me to say, how is everything to do with people, not a supervisor, but just an HR function responsibility?
That's true. It's always been the thing. I think they don't see that it's fundamentally, managing people is fundamentally line responsibility in HR.
Absolutely.
Providing you the tools, that's been an education, you need to keep doing it again.
Yeah. So I will say this more in a social context and a less of an organizational context. People believe that HR people are very free. They feel that we've chosen this profession because we want comfort in life. And the usual perception is, अच्छा आप HR में हो तो काम कम होगा, घर जल्दी आ सकते हो, इतना काम क्यों करते हो? So, you know, that perception that the society has is frustrating. I think at work, business and HR alike, everyone respects what we do. They understand what we do. But yeah, the social mindset around the function.
You know, post the pandemic, at least it's got a little uplift,
Yes.
the way people look at HR. And as I was sharing with you guys in the break that I saw this T-shirt in London which said that I'm in HR. What's your superpower? And I finally we have achieved that status. Anyway, a lot of people talk about that it's not the function, but it's the individual. The personal credibility and competence of individual HR people is what matters at the end of the day. Do you agree? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It does.
Yes, I agree, but I feel that is true for every profession.
Yeah, I echo what Richa is saying. I think while an individual brings in competence, I think the ecosystem of the function. And Mandeep, here I would like to take your example. You know, the way you created the ethos of HR in the organization where I worked with you, you know, brought in respect for the function. So it is the individual, but it's also the leadership and the ethos that you build around the function.
Thanks, you're kind. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next one is again an interesting one. They say HR keeps employees happy, who in turn keep customers happy. Then who's looking after the happiness of the HR people?
Can I go first?
Please, please.
I think we ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to make sure that we are happy, and we usually have to show employees that the glass is always half full. And in the entire matter, we realize that, oh yes, it indeed is full, and I should be happy about it.
Right. Pooja is smiling away. Pooja, please.
Yes, definitely. We have to look after ourselves and our colleagues, 100%.
Irani?
I think me myself, but there's also a lean in group of other HR professionals who you can lean on, and they understand your pain as much as you do.
That is true. Very much. Manu?
I think it's the fraternity. You yourself and the fraternity.
Exactly. No, it is very important because you need to talk to someone to recharge and someone, because you can't talk to anyone about things which are happening in HR. So you need to have a fraternity which you can talk about. Okay, so complete the following sentence. I feel a good day for me is when, Irani?
I have learned something new.
Okay, Pooja?
I've achieved a lot over the week, and it is Saturday. Yay. It's now my day to relax.
That's a good one. Manu?
So for me, it is when I'm able to create buy-in for an employee for a project which has an employee cause with the stakeholders.
Okay, good. Richa?
A positive influence on anyone, be it an employee, be it a team member, be it a supervisor, on anyone, just about anyone.
That's nice. Very good. Another, complete the sentence. I see in the future HR profession as dash. Irani?
Pivotal to an organization's success.
Okay. Pooja?
That seat on the board.
All right. Manu?
Leading the business into success.
Okay. Richa?
Catalyst to all kinds of change, disruption, and moving forward.
All right. I think it is all of those as well. So very well put. So this is the final question of our 20 questions that I promised you. Last but not the least, at a senior management level, given our learnings post-pandemic as an HR professionals, what 2 leadership traits would you like to see more of in the future? Want me to repeat that? At a senior management level, given our learnings post-pandemic, what 2 leadership traits would you like to see more of in the future? Irani?
Empathy and authenticity.
Perfect. Pooja?
Inclusive leadership and definitely authentic leadership.
Very nice. Manu?
People orientation and inclusivity both.
Okay. Richa?
Empathy and building capabilities across the board.
All right. This was really fun. I hope you guys had a good time like I did.
Yes.
Amazing time.
It was a great time.
Absolutely.
Really? Good. So I would really like to thank all of you for making time and being here today. I really appreciate you coming down, and thank you so much for participating in this roundtable.
Thank you so much, Mandeep, for having us here.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mandeep, for this
Mandeep.
opportunity.
Thanks, Mandeep.
Thank you so much.
So you heard our panelists. While organizations and CEOs are accelerating digitalization and adoption of automation, this is entailing new ways of working for employees who are coming back to the workplace. HR is expected to introduce new structures that are agile and nimble, ensure workforce productivity, keep track of upskilling and reskilling where required, manage employee engagement or employee experiences, rethink talent, sourcing and recruitment by embracing emerging technologies, and look at diverse skill sets. Finally, they have to also realign rewards to market realities on the basis of the new performance management paradigms. In my view, businesses would now be looking to reduce costs by any means, putting HR under pressure to create more value with less resources. But that creates a huge opportunity and advantage for HR as a function for being pushed to take on a more strategic role with organization. Some may see it as challenges, but a lot of people like me see it as opportunities for HR. I would like to see HR folks also facilitating uncomfortable conversations on subjects that breed change, be it DEI, women in leadership positions, or employees' physical and mental health. One roundtable dialogue is not enough to discuss the breadth of issues we have on the table. But I would like to thank all our panel members for sharing their insights on HR priorities post the pandemic. Thank you, ladies.